if you guys know me, I'm actually not the type of person that gets angry a lot. Once in a while, I'll get mad, but like being angry, that's kind of rare for me. But this week, there were two incidents that got me really upset and very angry. I'll share those incidents with you. First incident happened on Wednesday morning. On Wednesday morning, I came out of my house. I was about to go to the church office. So I came out, I had my shirt on, and I had my backpack on. And usually the way that I carry my backpack is because it's only like a 15-second walk from my house to my car. Is I put it on one shoulder, and I just walk out. And then I go to the garage. If you know my house, I go to the front of the gate, and I open the gate. So I have my backpack on, and this time, instead of putting my wallet in my front pocket, I actually have my wallet on my back pocket. It was in a place where people could see it. But I didn't really care because it was only like a 15-second walk. So I had my backpack on, I was walking out, and I was about to open the gate. I saw this new homeless person that I haven't seen before. So I was like, hey, what's up? And then we talked for like maybe like 3 seconds. And I opened the gate, I'm about to go into my car, and this guy, he tapped me on my shoulder. I was like, hey, yo, and I was like, hey, what's up? And this is what he said. Oh, by the way, earlier today, earlier on, a while back, I saw you walking, and you actually dropped your wallet from your backpack. And I'm actually the one that picked it up and put it back into your wallet. Put it back into your backpack. And I thought to myself, I was like, man, this guy, I know he's lying for sure. I was like, I'm 99.9% sure that this guy, he's trying to lie to me, right? So I wanted to call his bluff, so this is what I said. Again, I literally came down from my house maybe like 15 seconds ago, right? But I wanted to call his bluff, so I was like, oh yeah. You mean like 10 minutes ago when I was like over there down the street, right? And he's like, oh yeah, 10 minutes ago down the street, like 10 minutes ago I saw you dropping your wallet, and then I put it back for you. And I was like, oh yeah, like you're such a liar, man. I got so mad at him, right? He was trying to like get money from me, so he was saying, oh, I found your wallet, so give me some change. That's the way that he was going. So I got really upset because first of all, like I hate it when people lie to me. And this guy, he lied and he tried to take my money, right? So I was like, hey man, like I don't appreciate that, and I looked at him like straight in the eye, like, hey, don't do that again. Like you don't know me, don't mess with me. And right? I was not too golly in the morning, right? So I was pretty upset. I was like, hey man, don't do that again. It's like, oh yeah, my bad, right? And I was like, whatever, right? I'm about to go into my car. I open the gate, right? I'm about to walk into my car, and this guy goes, another thing, and I get even more upset. He goes, oh, by the way, this morning I washed your car. So if you know my, parking lot is pretty big because we have different stores there. We have maybe about 5-6 cars in there. And I kid you not, my car was the dirtiest car. I didn't wash it because I went to Kenya, and then I haven't washed it since. So last time I washed it was maybe like a month ago, right? And the other cars were pretty clean, and he tried to like calm me, right? So he was like, oh yeah, I washed your car. And I was like, man, my car is this. And I pointed it, and I went like this. And he was like, oh shoot, no, my bad, like I tried to trick you, blah, blah. And I was like, hey man, I was like, hey fool. I said, like, hey fool, don't try to lie to me, right? You don't know me, I don't know you. Hey, like, don't try to steal my money, right? That's what I said. And about to walk in, and he says another thing. He goes, hey, what if I wash your windows right now? Would you give me some money? I was like, I got so annoyed, I just left, right? That's the first incident that happened this week. And the second incident that happened this week that got me really mad again was this. On Thursday morning, I had to drive down to Orange County for a solar conference meeting. And solar conference is coming up next April, so sign up. So anyway, we had our solar meeting in the morning for about 3-4 hours. We had that, and then I stopped by Biola to check out some people. And then afterwards, my friend's wife was having a surprise birthday party for him at 6 p.m. So I had to go there early, hang out with him, and then try to buy time, right? So I picked him up around 3 p.m. and for 3 hours, I could spend time with him, kind of kill time before the surprise birthday party. So we went bowling, and then we bowled, and then afterwards I was like, hey, let's go, work out at 24. So we go to the gym, and instead of working out, we ended up playing ball. But again, my whole objective for spending time with him was so that I could buy time, so that when we go to the party, it'll be right time. So we're playing ball, and in the beginning, honestly, like I didn't really care if we win or lose. All I wanted to do was like maybe sweat a little, and then just have fun, right? But in the middle of the game, this happened. If you play ball, you're gonna get fouled, and usually if you get fouled, if they go for the ball, I don't really care. And I don't really care if they foul me really hard, as long as it's like a clean play, and afterwards they apologize, I'm all good. But this one dude, I was going for a layup, and he didn't even go for the ball. He goes like this, and he like swings on my head, and then, like, I fell. And I was like, oh my God, this fool, like this guy, right? He's so dirty, right? He's so dirty. So I looked at him, and then, like, he didn't even apologize. So I got super mad, and I looked at my friend. By the way, he's a pastor too. I was like, hey man, we're not gonna lose this game. We're gonna win this game, and I will win. So we ended up beating them, right? And then the guy was waiting again because he wanted to play, but there's a new team that's played, right? So I told my friend, I was like, hey, no matter what, we're gonna win a game right now. So the next game we can play them again, and this time I'm gonna guard him. And then, right now, I'm so mad, I'm actually going to guard him, and I'm going to foul him really, really hard, right? And then my friend was actually surprised, because I'm not the type of person that, gets like physical, but I was like super, super mad and angry. And he was like, oh, okay, we'll try our best. But thankfully, through the grace of God, we ended up losing, and I couldn't play, right? So I remember later that night, I was talking to my friend, I was like, hey man, honestly, I was like, I'm so glad that we lost, because if we didn't, and we won, and we would have played them, man, I would have been so stupid, I would have acted in a way that wouldn't honor God at all. So this week, there were 2 incidents that got me like really, really upset. And then later this week, on Friday, I started working on the sermon, and as I was reading chapter 14 and 15 of Judges, this is what God reminded me. This is what God told me. God was saying, Jacob, you're behaving the exact way that the Israelites did. You sin over and over and over again by breaking your word with me. And at the end, you know what? You get mad. But think about it. The way that I treat you, Jacob, it's not how I treat you. When you do something stupid, I never go, Jacob, you're such a fool. Or Jacob, you know what? I'm going to hurt you back. Right? The way that God treats me, or the way that God deals with me is this. Even though I over and over and over again sin against God, even though I always break God's heart, God's love for me is always unconditional. And as I was reading Judges chapter 14 and 15, I was like, man, how stupid could I be? I call myself a pastor, but so many times I fall short. And again, if you read Judges 14 and 15, and not only 14 and 15, as you read Judges, this story repeats over and over and again. The Israelites, they sin against God over and over and over again. But what does God do? He shows His unconditional love over and over and over again to His people. If you remember from the intro of the Book of Judges, I talked about this. Book of Judges, it tells us how people, they drift away from God further and further and further away from God each time. But what happens every time? Every time people drift away from God further and further, God still continues to pursue, and chases after them every single time. Again, over and over again in the book of Judges, people do what is right, not in God's eye, but they do what is right in their own eyes. And again, this is where exactly what the nation of Israel was doing. And again, we talked about it last week, and we're going to be talking about it today. But Samson is doing the same thing. He does what is right in his own eyes. If you recall from last week, what did we talk about? We talked about the holy calling. How the calling of Samson was a holy calling. And the way that his parents responded to God was a holy response. Again, Samson was supposed to be the deliverer for their people. The Israelites, they're under the oppression of who at this time? Anyone take a guess? We talked about it last week. Okay. They're under the oppression of Philistine for how many years? Good. For 40 years, they're under the oppression of the Philistine. Now, what happened last week? God called Samson, right? Samson is born. And when Samson is born, God tells him that he needs to be set apart. He does a thing called the Nazarite vow, right? Nazarite vow. We're going to repeat real quick. Can anyone tell me, what does the A stand for? The A means that no one. Pretty much all his life, no drinking, right? And then B is what? Okay, barber, right? Meaning, no one.
Haircut.
For all his life, he cannot cut his hair. And then C is what? Okay, and what does that mean?
No touching dead body.
No touching dead body. Again, for Samson, this was not a temporary vow, but it was supposed to be a lifetime commitment before God. We're going to be talking about chapter 14 and 15. And because the chapters are actually pretty long, I'm just going to try to summarize it to you guys. In chapter 14, it actually focuses on the sin of Samson. Samson in chapter 14, he falls in love with the Philistine woman, right? And from the beginning, you should already know that this is a no-no. Why? Because this is forbidden by God. The Israelites, they're covenant people of God. And the Philistines at the time, they're enemies of God. Right? They caused the Israelites to turn their back against God. And they caused the Israelites to fall into idolatry. So God doesn't want Israelites to go and, marry the Philistine. But what does Samson do? He sees a girl that he likes, and he goes to his parents and goes, Mom and Dad, there's a girl that I like. She's not a Jew, she's a Philistine. But you know what, Mom, Dad? This is what you're going to do for me. You're going to go to her parents, you're going to get her as my wife. Right? So if you read this, if you hear about this, you already know that Samson is pretty weird, right? He's a man, but instead of him going and getting his own woman, he tells his mommy and daddy, Mom, Dad, there's a girl that I like, can you hook me up? Right? And when you hear this story, maybe you're thinking, wait, is God really in control? Is God really sovereign? But we need to understand this, right? It makes it clear that God is very in control, that God is still sovereign. How do we know? Verse 4. Let's read it all together. Chapter 14, verse 4. Ready? Let's read it together in one voice. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
His father and mother did not know that it was from the Lord, for he was seeking an opportunity against the Philistines. At that time, the Philistines ruled over Israel.
Right? Even though what Samson did is wrong, God uses this wrong situation for his glory. It doesn't mean that God is saying, okay, Samson, I want you to go on and sin. No, that's not the point, right? That's not what I'm trying to say, right? Of course, what Samson is doing is wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that even in this situation, God is still in control of everything. God knows what is going on. And God still uses the situation so that he will receive glory. So what happened? Samson, he goes down to a city called Timnah. And as he is going down, he sees a lion. And the lion is roaring at him, right? He's roaring. And what does Samson do? Verse 6 is very important. And this word is going to repeat throughout this chapter and next chapter. The word that it comes out is this, that the Spirit of the Lord is rushed upon him. The Spirit of the Lord is rushed upon him. Let me ask you a quick question. What do you guys think this word means? When the Spirit of the Lord comes upon Samson, what does it mean? All right, let me hear it.
Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit? Okay, it means that Holy Spirit goes upon him. So what does that mean?
He was overwhelmed.
He's
overwhelmed.
Who's overwhelmed? Anyone else? He becomes new. Okay, anyone else? Does it mean that he becomes super holy? What do you guys think? Okay, maybe. Usually when we think about this word, saying, oh, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, we usually think, oh, okay, this guy is a righteous guy, right? This guy, maybe he's becoming super holy. But here in Judges, when the author uses the word, the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, or the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, it does not mean that Samson became super holy. But instead, it means that he had supernatural strength, right? So here he sees a lion, right? Again, from birth, Samson is chosen to be the deliverer of his people, right? He's chosen so that he can deliver his people from the Philistines, right? He sees a lion and the Spirit of the Lord rushes upon him, meaning he receives supernatural strength. And what does Samson do? With his bare hand, he kills the lion. With his bare hand, he kills the lion. And a few days later, he goes back to the place where he kills the lion. Maybe he wanted to see what, if the lion was still there, the dead body was still there. I'm not really sure. But he goes back to that spot a few days later. And what does Samson realize? Inside the dead animal, right, there's bees in there, and they're forming honey. And what does Samson do? He goes in to the dead lion with his hand, he scrapes the honey, and he eats the honey, and he takes the honey to his mom and dad, and he doesn't tell them where the honey came from, but he gives this honey to his parents. Now, why is this story very important? Why is this in the book of Judges? Here's why. What is Samson called to be? Okay, good. He's called to be a Nazarite, meaning he should not be touching a dead animal. But here we see that he breaks the vow, right? He goes in and he touches the dead lion, and not only that, right now at that instant, when he touches the dead lion, he's sinning against God. But not only that, he goes a step further. Why? Because he allows his parents to also sin. Why? If you're a Jew And if you touch a dead animal, even if you're not an Nazarite, right, you become unclean in that situation. But he doesn't even tell his parents, Mom and Dad, I got this honey from a dead, lion. But he just gives it to them. They eat the honey. Therefore, at that instant, they also became unclean. So we kind of see where Samson is heading to, right? He's kind of heading towards a down growth spiral. Now we come to verse 10, and Samson is now about to get married, right? Samson is about to now get married, and in verse 10 it says this. Let's all read it together on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
His father went down to the woman, and Samson prepared a feast there. For so the young men used to do.
The word that they use in the Hebrew Bible, the word that they use is the word feast. Usually when you think about this word, you're thinking, okay, Pastor, maybe you're talking about party, Samson party, okay? But this word, you know what it actually translates into today's language? Go to the next slide. Okay, couple of your favorite words, right? I'm not gonna name anyone, right? Right? So it means that you're actually partying it away, right? It's a drinking party, right? The word that they use in the Hebrew Bible for feast is a drinking party celebration. And it's not only for a day, but this goes on for 7 days. Samson is having a drink party right before his wedding for 7 days. Again, why is this important? Samson is what? He's a Nazarite. Right? And as a Nazarite, what should he not do?
Drink.
He should not be drinking. But obviously, Samson, he's at a wedding, he's at his own wedding party, and he drinks it up, right? He goes crazy for 7 days. But here's the sad thing about Samson, right? You would think that Samson is pretty popular, right? He's pretty big, he's pretty strong, he could kill lions with his bare hand. You would think that Samson would have a lot of friends. But the sad reality is, Samson, he doesn't have any friends. So Samson is at his wedding party and he goes on for 7 days. And because he doesn't have any friends of his own, he doesn't have any groomsmen of his own, what happens? The Philistines, right, his bridesmaids, right, they actually provide Samson with 30 groomsmen. Think about it. This is really sad. He doesn't have any friends, so his wife family goes, hey Samson, you don't have any friends, so we're going to actually provide you with 30 groomsmen. This is your friends, so enjoy your wedding party with them. But something interesting happened. Samson, he's drinking with them, he's playing with them, and he tells the 30 Philistines, again, Philistines are their enemies, right? He tells them this, oh, by the way, I have this riddle for you. If you could guess this riddle, you know what? I'm going to give you 30 garments, and I'm going to give you 30 clothing. But if you can't guess it by the end of the wedding, you guys owe me 30 garments, you guys owe me 30 pieces of clothing. And the guys are like, okay, tell me the riddle, we'll get it right. But he tells them a riddle that no one would understand. Why? Because this story is something that happened to himself. And this is the riddle. Let's all read it together. 1, 2, 3.
Out of the eater comes something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet.
Out of the eater comes something to eat. Out of the strong comes something sweet. Okay? Maybe because I shared the story about the lion, maybe you guys have a clue. Before the 30 Philistines, they have no idea what is going on. So you know what they do? They try to guess. Day 1, they couldn't. Day 2, they couldn't. Day 2, day 3, they couldn't. So finally, the 30 Philistines, they go to Samson's wife, and they tell this to Samson's wife. You better trick your husband, and you better get the answer from him. If not, we're going to burn you, and we're going to kill you. And not only you, we're going to kill your dad. So what does Samson's wife do? Verse 16, she goes to Samson, and she's like, oh, Samson, do you really love me? If you love me, why would you let this happen, right? And she's like, doing that, thank you, stuff, right? And she tells him, you better tell me, you know what, if you really love me, right, you better tell me the riddle. So Samson's like, nah, I'm gonna tell you day 4, okay, day 5, I'll tell you, no, day 6, like, finally he gives in, and he tells the answer to the riddle to his wife. And she, in return, goes to the Philistines, the 30, and they go, okay, I got the answer. And this is the answer that Samson gave. Let's all read it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?
Okay.
Samson.
Hopefully this will make sense to you. Out of the eater came something to eat. Remember? Lion, inside the stomach, there's honey, right? So, and then lion is strong, right? Something strong, there's honey. So it's a riddle that no one obviously would get except for himself. And when Samson finds out that the Philistines, they find out about the widow, what happens to him? He gets super angry. And then it tells us in verse 19 again, that the Spirit of the Lord, it rushed upon him. What does that mean? Does it mean that he became super holy? No. It means that again, he gained supernatural power. And because Samson was so angry, and he became super strong, what does he do? He decides to go into the Philistine city of, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, Nashkelon, right? He goes in there, and he actually goes into the heart of the Philistine cities. There's five key cities of Philistine, and this is one of them. Where Samson was at, where he had his wedding, it was near the border of Israel and Philistine, right? But now he gets so angry, he actually goes in 20 miles into the heart of Philistine, and in that city, you know what he does, right? He gets super strong. So the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him, meaning he gets super strong, and with that strength, he goes and he kills 30 Philistines. Can anyone take a guess? Why would he kill 30 Philistines? Smart man in Jude. He made a bet with 30 Philistines, right? He's groomsmen, saying, if I lose, I owe you clothing. I'm going to give you 30 clothing. I'm going to give you 30 George Armani's, 30 Hugo Boss, whatever, right? I'm going to get you a nice clothing, right? He loses. So what does he do? In anger, he goes to their hometown, right? And he kills 30 innocent people. Okay, maybe not innocent because they're the enemies of Israelites, but you guys get the point, right? He goes in there and he kills them and he takes their clothing. Okay, why is this important? How do you take clothing from a dead person? You touch them. Again, Samson is a what? He's a Nazarite. He should not be touching any dead animals, dead people, or drinking. We already see that he's doing all these things. And here's something very foolish about Samson, right? And I guess he does this and he gives him the clothing. But instead of going back to the wedding party, again, the wedding is not yet finished, right? It's a 7-day long wedding. On his last day, he goes kill people. And instead of going back to his wife, what does he do? He's like, forget it. I'm going to go back home to my mom and dad, right? He goes back to his home to his mom and dad. And while he goes back to his mom and dad, guess what happens to his wife? Right? His father-in-law is thinking, oh man, Samson, he goes, okay, I know he's really angry, right? I heard that he killed 30 people and he's back. You know what? I'm pretty sure that he doesn't like my wife anymore. So instead of having his wife wait for Samson to come, he goes, okay, you know what, daughter? You're going to marry the best man, right? There's 30 people there. One of them is obviously the best man. He gives her to Samson's best man, right? We already know that this story is kind of like going in a weird situation, right? Again, Samson is supposed to be a Nazarite, right? He's supposed to be a man of God. He's supposed to be a deliverer for the Israelites. But we see that Samson, he lives in a life of sin. Samson is supposed to deliver his people, but in fact, he cannot actually deliver them. Why? Because he is living in sin. And one thing definitely that he cannot deliver his people from is this, the issue of sin. That's why we need to remember, right? Even though Samson is the deliverer, the ultimate judge that we have is Jesus Christ. Why? Because Jesus Christ is the only one that can actually set us free from the bondage of sin. Again, in the book of Judges, what happens? The people of God, they drift away from God more and more, right? Again, here in the story, we see that Samson, as you go on, read through chapter 14 and 15, we see that Samson is drifting away from God more and more. And actually, when we study this book carefully, the author of this book, it actually gives us clues that Samson is actually going downward. He's going on a downward spiral, right? He's falling deeper and deeper, more down into sin. How do we know? We know because of the language that the author uses. Okay, let's take a look together, right? In chapter 14, right, in verse 1, it says that Samson goes down, right? Purposely, the author uses this word. It says that Samson, he goes down, right? And then he marries a Philistine woman. And then later on, he says, again, he goes down, right? And then to his dad and mom, He goes down, talk to his wife. He goes down to the city. And next chapter, we're going to see that he goes down and he stays there. The reason why the author is doing it is so that we, as reader, we catch it and we go, oh, I see where Samson is headed. Samson is going on a downward spiral, more down, and more down. Here's the thing. Usually when they drift away from God, right, it's actually hard for us to tell right away. If you're drifting away from God, you're not going to look back and go, oh yeah, I remember yesterday I was so close to God, but today I'm so far away from God. Right? Usually when people drift away from God, it's a slow drifting. It happens slowly. Right? It's like this. If you were to run 100 yards, right? And let's say you're maybe off by like, I don't know, 1 degree. If you're off by 1 degree and you're running 100 yards, right? When you finish the line, you're actually not going to be able to tell any difference. But if you were to run, or if you had to travel 1,000 miles, and if you're off by 1 degree, I guarantee you, once you get there, you turn around, you'll realize that you're so far away from your destination, right? It's important that when we're drifting away from God, the very instant that we realize that we are drifting away from God, the very instant that we realize we're sinning against God, it's important that we wake up, we turn that towards God. Again, Samson, he's supposed to be a deliverer for his people. But here we see that Samson is living a life of sin. Okay? Let's just take a look at a couple of the things that we did. Samson, what happened? He marries a Philistine woman. He marries his enemy. Right? Number 2, he touches a dead lion. Why is that wrong? Right? This is against the Nazarite vow. Okay? And then what does he do? He goes on a drinking party for 7 days. Again, this is against the Nazarite vow. And what else does he do? He goes into Philistine and he murders people. Obviously, this is against God's will. And he steals from them. He kills them. Not only that, he takes their belonging. And at the end, we see that Samson, he touches them, right? He touches the dead body. Again, chapter 14, it tells us how Samson is living a life of sin and how he's spiraling down more and more into sin. So what happens in chapter 15? Chapter 15, it focuses on this. Because of the result of sin, the relationship that he has around him is going to be all destroyed. Because of the sin that he has, relationship around him will be broken. So again, what happens? Samson, he doesn't go back to his wedding party, but he goes back to his dad. But in chapter 15, it tells us this. Sometime later, we don't really know how much time, but sometime later he thinks, oh yeah, I never got to finish my wedding party. I'm going to go back to my wife, right? And the wording that they actually use in the Bible is this. I'm actually going to go back to my wife, and I'm going to go and sleep with her. I'm going to go have sex with her, right? So he goes to his father-in-law, and he goes to his father-in-law, oh yeah, I'm back. Where's my wife? And the father-in-law, as you can imagine, Samson is a scary guy. He's like, oh shoot, to tell the truth, I gave her away to your best man at the wedding, right? And obviously, Samson is going to get super angry, right? And before he finishes, his father-in-law goes, but by the way, I know you wanted the older daughter, but the younger daughter is so much more prettier and better. You could have her instead. But Samson, he wants none of it. Why? Because it hurt his pride. So once again, he becomes super angry, and this is what Samson decides to do. Because the Philistines came and took his wife, that's what he's thinking, right? He's like, I'm gonna go and have revenge upon them. So Samson, he does something very weird. He goes out and he catches 300 foxes. He catches 300 foxes, and he pairs the foxes up into pairs of 2. He gets the foxes, he ties their tails, right? One by one, he ties their tail, and in the middle of it, he puts a torch, right? And he lights the torch, and he lets them loose all over Philistine, right? So there's 300 foxes that are burning, and they're going into their crops, they're going into their field, and it destroys everything, right? It's kind of like for them, their stock market crashing, right? Everything is destroyed because of these foxes that are being burned. So what happens? Philistines, obviously, they get more angry, and now they want to get revenge on Samson. So in verse 6, it tells us that Philistines, they want revenge. So what do? They go to his wife. And remember in the beginning, they told the wife, if you don't tell me the widow, I'm going to burn you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you and your father. That's exactly what they do. They killed her and they killed her father by burning them. Right? Why? They're thinking, you burn something that is important to us, in return, we're going to burn something that's important to you. Here's the thing. When sin enters into a life, relationship will be broken. Think about that. When sin enters into our life, relationships, it will be broken. Because of sin, maybe you and your friend, right, your relationship is broken. But ultimately, what's more important than you and your friend, right, relationship broken is that because of sin, you and God's relationship will also be hindered, right? That's why it's so important that if we have sin in our life, that we confess, we come before God. So again, everything is burned, right? Samson is again angry. He goes back, he strikes them down, right? He fights them. And after he fights them, he runs away. He goes into the town of Judah and he hides. Now it gets interesting. The Philistines, once again, they're going to say, you know what? We're going to go and kill everyone else. They invade Judah and they come and they look for Samson. Right? So people of Israel, people of Judah, now they're very afraid. Why? Because the Philistines, they're already in control for 40 years. Right? They're already enslaved by them. But now they're saying, not only that, we're going to destroy everyone. Why? Because of Samson. We hate Samson, we're going to kill him, and we hate the Jews. That's their attitude. So the Israelites, instead of saying, you know what, how dare you do this to us? We want our freedom. We're going to fight for independence. They don't do that. Again, they're very comfortable where they are at. So instead of fighting the Philistines, you know what they do? The Israelites, Samson's very own people, they gather up their 3,000 of their own men, and they go to Samson and say this, how dare you do this, Samson? Right? In verse 11, how dare you do this? Right? You know what? Because of you, we're going to face so much trouble. Right? Let's make it easy. We're not going to kill you, but we're going to take you to the Philistines. And Samson, he agrees with them. So they get a brand new rope and they tie Samson up with the brand new rope and they take them to the Philistines. But once again, something very interesting happens, right? They tie Samson up in a very strong rope, very, very brand new. They take them to the Philistines, and when they take him to the Philistines, something very interesting happens in verse 14 again. The word that they use is this. The Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him. Again, Samson doesn't become super holy and say, you know what, I'm really sorry, I'm going to forgive everyone, please forgive me. That's not the attitude that he has. But instead, supernatural shame goes inside of him and he easily breaks the rope off. It's like literally it melts off him. And what does he do? He looks around and he sees a jawbone of a donkey. He picks it up. Again, he's touching a dead animal, right? He's breaking that asphalt out. And he uses this as a weapon. And what does he do with the jawbone of a donkey? That day, he kills 1,000 Philistines. He kills 1,000 Philistines. Again, God uses this weird situation for his glory. Why? Because even though things seem out of control, right? As how we read in verse 14, chapter 14, verse 4, God, he's still in control. He knows everything, and he uses the situation for his glory. Again, I have a question for you. What happens when you allow sin to come into your life? What happens when you play around with sin too long? What happens when you enjoy sin? I guarantee you, when you enjoy sin for a long time, the relationship around you, it will be messed up. The relationship around you, it will be broken. Right? When sin enters your life, maybe your relationship with your parents will be broken. Maybe your relationship with your co-workers will be broken. Maybe your relationship with your classmates will be broken. Maybe your relationship with your friends will be broken. It's important that the very moment God speaks to you and tells you, you're drifting away from me, turn back to me. As soon as you realize God is speaking to you, as soon as you know that the Holy Spirit is nudging your heart and saying, what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is not pleasing to me. We need to say, God, you are right, and I am sorry. And we need to turn back to God. Don't let sin drift you apart from God. If you know that you're drifting away from God this very moment, make sure you turn back to Christ. Don't let sin destroy your relationship with people around you. If it is, make sure you walk back to Christ and repent of your sin. As Andrew comes up and leads us into our song of praise, I want you to think about these two questions. As we sing our last song, I want you to think about these two questions. Question number one is this: what sins are causing me to drift away from God? Is there sin in your life that is causing you to get further and further away from God? What is that sin? If God reminds you of the sin, you need to break it off this very instant. Number two, how is the sin causing broken relationship in your life? Are there broken relationships in your life? Okay, maybe you're holding on to anger. Maybe you're holding on to bitterness. Okay, maybe it's a lie. Maybe it's jealousy. Okay, whatever it may be, if you know that the sin is causing you to drift away from God, if you know that the sin is causing your relationship with people and especially with God to be broken, you need to come before God and repent. Amen? Let's pray. Father God, we want to come before you. Amen. And God, we want to thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness. God, we want to thank you, Lord, for the story of Samson. And God, I pray, Father God, as we come before you, and God, as we sing this song at this time, God, I pray, Father God, that you'll speak to us. God, is there any sin in our life that we need to come and confess before you? God, is there anything in our life that is causing us to drift away from you? God, would you show us? And God, would you allow, Father God, to turn back to you? God, is this sin causing our relationships with people to be destroyed? God, I pray, Father God, that you will allow us, Father God, to ask for forgiveness, not only to you, but the people around us as well. And God, more importantly, God, I know, Father God, that sin in our life, God, is allowing our relationship with you, God, to get further and further as well. Lord, would you reveal those sins to us so that we can repent of those? God, again, we want to thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness. God, we love you. And in Christ's name we pray. Amen.